the record, and that way we have this if anyone wants to re-listen or have it internally for that purpose. So it's always good to go reflect back and what are core values. So core values are a single word or short phrase that connects you back to your truest self, your authentic self. They become your inner compass to really help direct you in your life, personal life, professional life, all areas. And they help you decide where you want to go, the direction you want to go, and how you can get there, what you care about, and how to make decisions each day. So as we live from our core values, things become simpler. Decisions, plans, actions, all of it just gets clearer because we know where we want to go and how to get there. So that's what we're talking about with core values. But today, what Sheila and I want to talk about is how do we use the core values to navigate through what's happening right now, which is the middle of December, the holiday season. So we're going to talk for a few minutes about what does it mean to use your core values as a guidepost during a season that has, this is a most unique season for many of us. And it's also a time where there are lots of joys and challenges, and how can the core values help us course correct when we're feeling a little bit off, and how can they also help us celebrate more when we are in the zone. So that's a bit about what we're going to talk about today. So Sheila and I have talked about the challenges that are happening right now, particularly this year around the holidays. So Sheila, since we've had those conversations, do you want to share a bit about how you've used the core values in this kind of unique time to navigate through the season?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, I think I'm going to share my value. One of my core values is presence, Amy, as you know. And what I mean by presence, it's like showing up. So it's like being here in the moment is particularly important to me. So there's a lot of components to that, but it's about accepting what's happening. It's not like being complacent, but just acknowledging, okay, this is what's going on right now. So what I have to acknowledge today is that we are in a pandemic. And it has been going on for about 9 months, and it has severely restricted and changed the way that everybody goes about living their lives. And here's another holiday that we get to celebrate under these circumstances. So it's feeling a little bit, at first for me, it was feeling a little bit sad because it's like, oh my God, there's like so many things that I really love doing with my family that are traditional things that I won't get a chance to do this year. And one of those things is for years, I have four sisters, and we used to always do sugar cookies. So baking holiday cookies and with the icing and all the decorations. It's like this really creative kind of thing that we've always done. And this year we're not going to do that, but we are, because I figured out, thanks to Zoom, which is so amazing, we all decided that we were going to do it this year with Zoom. So part of the presence is also around connection. It's connecting to what's happening right now. It's connecting to what's important to me. It's connecting to the people who are important to me. It's staying connected. So we have set up a Zoom cookie baking time where we are all going to get together and just be in the kitchen and do our thing. And then after that, we haven't quite decided how we're going to do it, but we want to do like a drive-by like cookie exchange so that we could actually, because I don't know what to do with these things after I make them. I just want to do it because there's a lot of joy attached to it. I don't want to have a bunch of cookies around the house to eat, but I do want the experience of it. So we're figuring out how to do the drive-by because we're in different areas, and like we can like do the, have them in tins or whatever else, we get to exchange them. And then it's just going to be like that one part of the holiday that I love. And I get to share it and connect and to stay connected. So that's what I'm doing around presence and connecting in that way. So I know that you are also, Amy, navigating through the holidays using your core values as you always do. So what's up for you around, and which value is showing up and what you're going to be doing differently this year?
Thank you, Sheila, for asking that great question. Before I answer that, though, I wanted to share, I just really appreciate your story because
Thank you.
it's a great way to see how the values can turn something that feels off or like a loss, even, which it is in one sense. But when you
Hmm.
honor your value of presence and recognize that you're doing something different to be able to tap into that value and you can name that value. I imagine you can tell, correct me if I'm wrong, if it has a little bit more of a stronger resonance to you.
Oh, absolutely. Because once I figured out that this is like, yeah, this is like so doable this time. I don't have to give it up, but I also get to share. So it's like it's almost deepening it in a way because
Right.
it's like we're just, I think we might even be more in tune to each other in this than we would be if we were all sitting there, standing there together baking. It just
Right.
takes a different
Different
flavor.
thing.
So it's
I think being able to name it, and that's what I mean too, like the naming of it as presence makes it more than just another Zoom. It's not
absolutely
just another Zoom that's on or meeting on your list, but it's an act of something that's connecting you to something that's really important to you. So
right.
it becomes more impactful in that way,
Yes,
right? Because then
absolutely.
you're not just on the camera again, you're actually doing something fun, enjoyable, and can name it and living through that, navigating it and coming up with creative ideas of how to do that too.
Well stated.
Yeah,
Agreed. Yes,
yeah.
that's it.
But there are opportunities in this crazy, challenging time as well. And it's hard to find them sometimes. It isn't always easy for sure, but that's where I find some kind of hope in the values being able to guide us in a different way than
Mhm.
maybe otherwise seen. And yes, so to your question, I want to talk a little bit, I want to talk about presence, but a different kind of presence. The one that you give and receive, and how to do that a little bit differently. And so I appreciated your question when we were talking about this. I thought, oh yes, because this is on my mind pretty much every season, even non-COVID times, because one of my values is sustainability. And sustainability through the holidays, not just personal sustainability, actually, how do I sustain my health and well-being during a time that can be pretty stressful? So that is part of it. But
Mhm.
literally sustainability as I'm talking about my reverence for the earth and its inhabitants, people, the planet, obviously, and animals, and how to care for the natural world in a way that's not just benefiting our generation, but future generations too.
Yep.
So if I
Mhm.
bring sustainability into my gift giving, it's a different way of looking at it. And so it's taken some time. But so one thing I think about, last night was the first night of Hanukkah.
Yes.
And I was, um, and so my daughter, when we did the first night of gifts, she commented on my wrapping and says, "What a great wrapper I am." But the funny thing is I've definitely used my value of creativity to be, and I enjoy wrapping gifts, but I've had a conflict with it because it's so wasteful. And at the end of a night or end of a holiday, there's so much wrapping and ribbon and things like that. So I'm really conscious about not buying wrapping paper that's laminated or shiny or has like the sparkly things in it, and because that's not recyclable, I try to reuse paper, which sounds kind of old school, but it looks really good. And I use yarn and rib, and I rather than ribbon, I use yarn because I can reuse it and it's easy to reuse and it doesn't, and then I can use for other things. So I love wrapping it multiple times with a really colorful piece of yarn, things like that. I saw Greenpeace put an ad out about using like a shopping bag and stamping it. Now I don't really have time to go stamping, though I love to be crafty, but I loved the visual of something like that to be creative. So one of my values is creativity. So if I can bring that to the wrapping instead of the attitude of like, oh, I have to, this is bad. I'm not doing it right. I'm buying wrapping paper. Now, if I have leftover wrapping paper, I'll use it. It's not about being perfect with it. It's more just kind of, oh, can I find a better way for me to be authentic to myself and share a beautiful gift? And I succeeded last night, is one night at a time, because I'm not super organized this year. But that's an important way for me to see how I can care about the planet, care about connecting with who I'm giving my gift to, and also enjoy creativity. So connection's a value, sustainability is a value, and creativity is a value. And when I get to see it in that through that lens, it makes it more fun for me because I'm not, just kind of beating myself up for not doing it right. Because living life through sustainability is not an easy thing in our world today. So I'll give you one more tip with two more tips, which are short ones, which is another way I've done it is trying to buy more locally, doing less shipping. I think a lot of stores right now will shop for you or you can pick up. That's something I think supporting the small businesses that are struggling right now is really important. And that does, not giving, buying into some of the mass amount of shipping that goes on with the holidays and how many returns and things like that. So buying more locally. And then also seeing what I already have that someone else might really enjoy. And I call this, and I won't go into too much detail about it, but this idea of getting rid of the stigma of regifting, and if I have something that I love that I'm just not really using right now, is there someone I know that might really enjoy it? And can I give it with that energy and love and appreciation and not have to buy something new? Because there's so much beauty in some of the things that we have that we can share with others. So that's how
Yes.
the lens of sustainability has helped me come up with different ideas to be creative when it comes to gift giving and really sharing presence in a different way this season. And
That's presence with presence.
it's presence with presence. Exactly. So, and I think Sheila will be delivering cookies to be
Yes.
I don't know if we can give out, can we share food that way? I'm not really sure. I think it's okay. Yeah. But with the COVID, all the restrictions, but it's a funny time. And so each thing is very situational, but the most important thing is with the values, having that navigation system and guideposts. So, oh yes, I'll do it this way. Oh no, that doesn't feel right. It just helps us course correct, helps us course correct. And that's the hope that we have by having this conversation. And I like sharing about something like gift giving, which is very practical and today. And also it can be something like much more meaningful. Well, it's meaningful, but just in addition, meaningful, like a relationship and how to maintain relationships over time, which are also really important.
Yes.
So
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for asking.
Absolutely. So now we kind of like to just turn it over to an open discussion. We're all here for different reasons. I mean, but primarily it's around looking at how to live values. And it's not always an easy thing to do, but for me, that presence and that consciousness really helps to be aware of the choices that I'm making. So we're just going to kind of open it up and find out what brought you here today. First of all, anybody would like to share what made you come today and what do you hope to get out of today?
I'll share.
Hi, Stacy. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for doing this. I really loved the conversation and the learning that we had on Sunday. And I just feel like I want to dive deeper into this because, I always thought I had values and I do, but I never really looked at them so closely like this. And especially I love what you say about looking at them through the lens, looking at our, I drew a picture of glasses and values on it.
I love it.
So it's funny because one of my values is creativity. And so I'm with you, Amy and Sheila. And so one of these, and community is another one of my values of just really bringing people together, really being a part of something. And so, like you, my family, we're doing a tamale party and we're doing it all online. And we're all cooking. An uncle who passed away recently, who taught us how to make the tamales, we're all coming together to make his recipe. So it's like, I'm just so grateful that, we're just thinking outside the box of how do we do this? How do we stay together? And one of the things that I'm just so grateful for about this time is the creativity that is coming out of this movement. You're just seeing so many people do things differently, and it's really exciting to see this. So
That
And
is fantastic. Oh my goodness. Like, let's say, I hope you don't live too far. It's like, are you going to have drive-by swaps too?
we're going to hopefully do drive-by swaps.
Pieces
So
and trolleys. Yes, that's so wonderful. Yeah, but it's like that is like so special too. I mean, because it's like there's so much meaning attached to that, right? That just deciding to do that together, the connection, the meaning, everything is like layers on layers of really good stuff that make it really special. And you're right about the creativity. It's like, we will never go back to things the way they were before, and that's a good thing,
yeah,
in
it
a
is.
sense. I really appreciate that. Yes. And so using those lenses that you talked about, community and creativity, and coming up with creative solutions for that is fabulous. And then honoring your uncle is just awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. So who else would like to share why you're here today? What brought you here today? Hi, Terry. You can unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah.
That's
Hi.
it. Hi.
I did it. Hi. So I was just wanting to be with this group. I was with the group last Sunday. I arrived a little late. Um, I I love having the vocabulary for values to be all opened up. I just retired from teaching, and there were days that my classes would spend figuring out what love is. We would just put the word love on the board, and we would have all these different aspects of love as sort of these extending lines out from it. And I think this is very similar to that. Being able to articulate what our values are seems like a real guiding force for our life. And I like that about what this work is. It's and I've been reading a book about clutter, clutter, and it's so wonderful. I was just going to step over and get it. 1 second.
Okay, sure.
I don't know. Probably everybody already has read this. June Saruwatari. Have you? Oh,
I know Marie Kondo.
yes. This idea of regifting is part of her idea to find truth, love, meaning, and purpose. And she's saying, she's loved this thing for a long time, and she knows this other person is collecting that kind of thing or something. And there is a stigma attached to regifting, and I really like that possibility as a way, instead of, Salvation Army and all of these other places lately have just been saying no more, no more. We can't take it, and limiting the amount of stuff people can bring because everybody's reading these books about clutter. Thank God, but it's really been an eye opener. Both this little group that you've put together and this June Saruwatari. She does it all with this organizing element of truth, love, meaning, and purpose. So I think there's a crossover here too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. It's so good to have you here too. And congratulations on your retirement and sharing about that book. It's so helpful to see how all of these different ideas intersect. And the lens of the values is another way to do that. So decluttering through values, which is kind of what it sounds like her book is, her, sharing those particular values. And I really appreciate hearing that. And I wanted to something, Stacey, I was happy to hear from you too. And the idea that both of you talked about was this general idea of values that is often talked about out in the world. Like people just say, oh, values, but without going through the process of naming them and having kind of concrete ideas about them, it's more vague and general. But as the process continues and we each take our own ownership of our individual values, it becomes that much more meaningful, and better to navigate and clearer to navigate.
Yeah.
And I think
like everybody says, I love you. Well, but what does that mean? Or I love that thing, or I love, my parents. I love my husband, but what does it mean?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
What are all those different parts of it?
Yeah. Speaking about the clutter, I'll share one quick anecdote, which was a few years ago when Marie Kondo first came out. I went to go drop some things off at Goodwill sometime in January, but everyone was talking about, oh, this doesn't bring me joy. This doesn't bring me joy. And I looked at Goodwill and it was packed. Stuff. And I'm like, oh, there's everybody's non-joy, you know? And there was that moment because we're trained, and then this, and I've done it myself, so I'm not, this isn't any judgment on anybody else. And then I'm at Target again, or I'm at a store buying more stuff that ends up, oh, this doesn't bring me joy. And it's just this repetitive pattern that happens that I've had when I work with people and I see that and in my own life. And so the values helps me put that pause in prior to purchasing or finding the joy and losing the stigma of regifting before, so I can step off that cycle of buy more, donate, buy more, non-joy, you know, oh, this brings me joy for 30 seconds, put it in my cart and then walk out the door. And that could be on Amazon if we're not shopping in real life, you know, or anywhere, but it's just kind of kicking in that pause that helps how to live in alignment with what really matters to us. Because I think people really do want to do the good thing, the right thing, but get caught up. I certainly do. I get caught up in the moment and think, oh, this is it, you know?
Right, right. And then the values can also compete with one another too. So that's the other part of it. It's like, I love what you said about values help you to put in the pause. I really like that because it really is a pause. It's just taking a moment, and it comes back to my whole thing around presence and really being aware of what I'm doing and thinking about and choices that I'm making. What I find so valuable about navigating through life, it's like that there is that little pause because I can value beauty, and I love beautiful things. I love beautiful things. I love the fact that people create just gorgeous things. I celebrate that, and I can appreciate it and not need to own it. So that's what it's taught me. So I can look at it and love it. And it's like, oh my God, this is stunning. This is so wonderful, but not feel the need to acquire it or to bring it home or to keep it for myself. So it's like, how do you, it's like you can have that value of really appreciating artistry and creativity and loving this and liking beautiful things. But then there's also value, like you said, like your sustainability, my sense of just being aware and my reverence for life, what I call reverence for life, that allows me to then say, okay, I don't really need to own that to really appreciate it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes you do.
Well, yeah, but you get to choose, right? It's very choiceful. It can be very choiceful.
Right. It's just the clarity's there.
Like, yes.
So I know why I'm doing this, and it attaches more to my purpose. And that's what I love about what you said, right?
Right.
It's giving sovereignty of decision making.
Yes. Yes.
And clarity that it's not based on being sold something from somebody else's agenda, which is, it happens all the time.
Right. Yes.
Even more so.
Very true. Oh my goodness, that's so true. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Terry, for opening that door. Yeah. Who else would like to share what brought you here today? Hi, Ching Ching.
Oh, hi.
Welcome back.
Everyone's words resonates with me on some level or other, like the going to the Target. I remember someone's telling me, they're like, if I can see something in a store and I can already envision it in my next garage sale, I am not buying it.
That's great.
She's so funny. Anyway, I need to.
I love that.
It always like stuck with me. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. But yeah, but yeah, I think it's that I think about that too when I used to travel quite a bit for work. Like when I get into a clean, freshly made hotel room with like nothing, I was able to survive for like a week. Like, what do I feel like when I come home? I need all this stuff around me. So it's really definitely been a work in progress this whole year of decluttering. And I'm actually like one of the values that I have is like the connecting with people I'm definitely introvert and I don't really like to be around people, but I'm more like the one that goes to the coffee shop to hear other people, but don't talk to me kind of.
You're speaking my language. I'm such an introvert. I get it. I totally
Yeah,
get it.
so I'm like, oh, I need to go to the coffee shop. It's not to drink coffee, it's just to have activity, so it's not so silent. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just like being able to, I mean, I'm laid off right now and trying to pivot and figure out what my next vibrant steps are for my life, and trying to, I've taken courses, and like it's kind of interesting with like the one that I just finished. It was like I created my manifesto out of it, and I was like, why am I joining Amy in her class again? Like, wasn't that 6 weeks enough? But I think it really is just sort of like Sheila was talking about, like having these awareness. If it's like really in your awareness, you're not just moving around unconscious and then following what other people, I mean, like the most simplest example is like, oh, whatever restaurant is fine, but is it really fine? You know, you have options and you have choices. So I think it is kind of like the whole recovering people pleaser, and then like really focusing that like my things are important. They're just different than other people. And then just giving it space to, you know, like it's okay to have your values. Like your value is just as important as someone else's, that they may be extroverted and somehow get their values chosen more often.
Yeah.
Right. Totally understood. That's you raised so many wonderful points, and we're going to be talking about this in the coming week as well, because the whole purpose of really honing in on what values are important to you is to either own or shed the values that you've been given. Like we all get them, right? I mean, from society, from our families, from just different things. And we just take them on and say, this is what I should value versus what is unique to me and what is important to me. It doesn't mean that those other ones, you push them aside, but you at least take them for a test drive. You have an awareness. Is this the value that is most important for me and for me living my life in the most vibrant fashion? And so that's huge. That's huge. Because see, I have so many values that are underneath other values that they still get expressed, but they're not leading. And they're not necessarily what informs my decisions every day. And so it's finding the ones that you can use as your guideposts, as your lens, as you are going through a day and making choices. And there's so many choices to make every day. So you're just raising a lot of wonderful concepts and ideas about why we're doing this work in the first place.
Yeah, because I think like maybe like what if my values actually ends up hurting someone else's, right? Because if I'm thinking of myself first and I'm not thinking of other people, it's like the whole I need to rewire, or you know, there's many levels of that. So
Absolutely. Like you can have the value of individuality and also have the value of connection. So it's like, how do those two work together? And how do you make choices that honor both of those? So there's it's complex, and it's wonderful to think about because it gives you so much clarity and ease in terms of just making decisions and living every day. It does for me, and I know it does for Amy as well, and I'm sure for many of you too. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Amy, anything you want to add?
I just want to say thank you, Xing, for sharing that and the ideas of, you know, that it is helpful. Like the manifesto, what a great class to have taken, and getting really clear about that. What I see the values is adding to that. It kind of provides the path, like that's the destination, maybe the manifesto of where you want to go, and then the values of the compass so that you're staying in alignment. And also in the moment, that pause and target, or that pause, one of those words will be there for you to be that guidepost in the moment, whereas it's harder to recall a longer written, or something bigger than that. It's really a usable tool. It's like
I like that description of using it as a compass to get to the manifesto, which is like always going to be ever changing and all that. And then I think something else happened. I was like listening to like this super long, like 21-day like summit thing where it's like 15-minute interviews with people, like, but I would listen and I'm like, oh, that's sort of interesting, I kind of want that. But then if I happened on one that was very woo-woo and spiritual and all that, and I was all ears and I perked up and I was like, why is that not even on my value list? Like obviously spirituality is like my thing, like being with mystics and all that, but I was like, is that just because like how I'm going to keep my company of people, or is that like through the lens of how I'm going to filter some of these other values? But it was knowing like what I liked or don't like helps my value lists get shorter, hopefully.
It gets
It does.
honed and clearer. And I think that's this week in the workshop, it was about inspiration, you know, looking around and seeing where you learn about yourself and get inspired by values. And that's what I hear when you're saying that. It's, oh, does this fit? Does it not fit? Why this fits me, but it's not there. That's interesting. And it can be, and that's why it's a process and not like a one and done check the box thing, but certain words start to resonate much more deeply. And also the compass gets, when the more the compass gets used, the clearer it becomes too.
And even Terry was talking about like the decluttering. Like I feel like the Marie Kondo thing is a little bit like militant. Like if it doesn't spark joy, like you can't have it. But I feel like that other book might be something I need to check out because
it is great.
I feel like this,
Yeah, because she's not saying anything militant at all. She's just asking you to look at what you have and tell yourself the truth about it. And do you love it? And does it have meaning to you? And what is its purpose? I mean, so the organizing principles seem to be around what we're talking about, which is values.
Yes.
Yeah. So we would just say declutter with your values, post up your values as you're decluttering. And that is your filter.
Yeah.
And your lens in a way. And she's using those, and a lot of those values align with my own. So that would resonate for me.
Yeah.
So
totally resonates for me too. Yes, it totally does. I just wanted to, the whole decluttering thing is just so amazing because I actually do some of that work with my sister when she does staging, and she also helps people to kind of re-envision their space. And part of that decluttering is so important. But I experienced that. I spent like it was in Yosemite for a month, and it was meant to be just a month-long trip. It was volunteering. It turned into 4 months, and I found myself in a tent with an air mattress and a few things, a stool and some other things, and I was perfectly content with so little that when I got home, I didn't need a lot of clothes. I didn't need a lot of things around me. I had like some feathers and some, other things that were just beautiful. And I did my own artwork, and that was fantastic. And I didn't need a lot of stuff, I realized. And so it just was like lights on from that point on in my life. And so that simplifying and decluttering and really being conscious about what's important and what you need and what you want and what you love is just like, it's been a game changer for me. So I just, I'm just resonating with all of this discussion around decluttering and sustainability and letting things go and all of that stuff and what's beautiful and sharing them with other people. Cause I do that all the time too. And it's just like, that's good stuff.
Yeah, because I think about my closet. I was like, what was I wearing these outfits for now that we're in Zoom all the time? I was like, was I getting ready to go out just so I could put on my persona for my outside world? And now I might have my same vest on for like 2 weeks, So
it's changing everything.
No, so I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm wearing like less. I mean, most people I think wear 20% of their entire closet. I'm like down to 10%, if even that, right? So
yeah,
it just makes you wonder what you were doing before this.
Right. And that for me comes back to the presence. It's the awareness, it's the consciousness. It's like really just seeing it for what it is and thinking it through in a different way. That's just like so powerful. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to actually ask Darlene. I'm looking at you, lovely Darlene. Thank you so much for like showing up on the video. What brought you here today?
Had to brush my hair before.
You look fabulous.
Yeah, I was like,
No, absolutely.
okay, what was the question?
Yeah, what brought you here today? How did you hear about us? What brought you here? Are you
Okay, I I bought a clock for training on Kickstarter, and they had like these events, and I had to sign up on Eventbrite.
Oh,
And I'm
Eventbrite.
like, okay, what's that? And then I checked it out, and I'm like, oh, okay, free class. I like free classes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and now I'm like a little bit hooked. Yeah, but it's also very complicated because I don't like when it's first saying it's free and then you have to sign up and then you have to donate and so on. I don't like it. Otherwise, for me, it's free or not free. So
Right.
I don't like all the behind. So, but for me, it's okay if, to pay. But first, when it's free, then I wanted to have it free. But otherwise, this should, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're in integrity. We're not going to ask you for anything.
Yeah, no, it's not about that. It's just
It's totally.
I was looking before at something else, and then it was like, oh, and I'm like, oh, can I? If you say first it's free, and then I can try out, and then I can see if I like it or not, then it's okay. But yeah.
True.
And
I have,
then,
yes.
and
Thank you so much for showing up. I have participated in so many complimentary things, so many free things. I mean, it's just like over the years, it's just like just being on that quest for information and knowledge, or just kind of expanding my thinking. And there's so much out there, and it's fabulous to be able to do that, and for us to be able to offer this is also part of that, because it changes. If you can change your perspective, you can change your life. You can just really, jumpstart and improve and find that through the lens of values that things appear so differently. So this is such important work that we want to bring it to as many people as possible. So this is like one of the ways that we get to do that. So glad that you're here, Darlene. Thank you for coming.
My turn.
Yes, Jerome.
Boy, oh boy, what a discussion this is. It's really specific and really impressive. And I've got this song running through my head from Sound of Music. Brown paper packages tied up in strings. These are a few of my favorite things. So I've done that, taken the old paper bags and use the paper bag for presents and an old piece of twine that I use for tying up trees.
Yeah.
But my values, I've been in several of these previous events, so I've got my values kind of narrowed down, but they're all very abstract. They're my 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 values are creation, freedom, honor, vitality, relations, and service. And
wow.
and they're very, when you just read them off, they sound so abstract, but you're right, they come up every single day, maybe half a dozen times a day in what I'm doing with this present moment right now, simple things. And talking about decluttering, when I've moved, so I have a business that I've had for here in Los Angeles for 30 years, and it's a lot of contracting. I wind up with buying a lot of equipment just to complete certain jobs, and it costs a lot of money to buy specialized equipment for a specific job, but of course I write it off to the cost of the job. But you wind up with this stuff that's very valuable. It costs you a lot of, substantial amount of money and hard to find kind of specialized tools. But I haven't used them since that job 15 years ago. And it's so hard. You can't really sell them because they're so specialized, and I've tried to give them away, but finally I hired a business consultant to help me. I moved into this house and dragged all this stuff with me, and the backyard was just full of stuff. And so to make a long story short, it required 5 trucks from Got Junk
Wow.
to take away all this stuff. And they promised they would recycle it. They promised they would do something with it, which I think is what they're either. Yeah, anyway, I miss my stuff though. Gave me sort of a weird sense of having accomplished a lot with my life, you know, having all this beautiful pulleys and things around my backyard. But in terms of the seasonal aspect to this session, you know, it's really burdensome for me because I come from a huge Irish Catholic family with lots of kids. There were 6 kids in my family alone, and I had cousins with 10 and 12 kids. My sisters had 8, 9, and 7 kids, and you know, big Irish Catholic families. And we used to have these Christmas parties, Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving. These huge family events, and but you know, now here in Los Angeles, everybody's living far. I'm living here in Los Angeles. Everybody else is far away, and those parties can't happen anymore. And it's like you can't see anybody. I'm thinking, well, I have this like an honorary nephew here in town, and I was called his mother, my friend, to ask her what to get him for. He's one of these unique kids who was born on the 14th of December. So you got to really pay attention to his birthday, because otherwise he gets screwed getting presents for 2 things at once. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations. So, you know, I don't know what to get to a 14-year-old kid, you know, and I was thinking I'd just send him $100, but it seems so crass, you know, and so ungift-like, you know. Can't even wrap it in a brown paper bag, you know.
The Chinese wrap it in a little red envelope.
There you go.
Oh, is that right? A little red envelope?
Yeah, with a lot of characters, Chinese characters. They're beautiful envelopes. Money envelopes are a prize among the Chinese. Am I right, Ching Ching? Are you Chinese, Ching Ching?
Yes, it's hongbao. We love it. It's given usually by married or like the older, like whoever's older or whoever's married gives it to all of the kids for New Year's. And it's a big deal. Like you go to the family and you hand out the hongbaos, and it's like instead of candy, you just hand out money.
Yeah, and the envelopes are beautiful.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, you can find them in Chinatown.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
There you go, Jerome. Yeah, I think about all the different ways I'd like to receive $100. Let's see. You can put it in singles in a brown paper bag. It doesn't even have to be a fresh bag. It could be, it could be like gift card. It could be just like, however, it's like that's a wonderful gift for a kid. That's very nice.
He's 14. He will love that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's a lot of money to a 14-year-old.
Yes. And actually, Jerome, just thinking about it, I just want to share this. My sister is going to be doing the same thing with her grandkids who are like 14 and 15 years old. And she's going to use like those gift cards, like MasterCard or Visa has a card, because that way they can use it online. And a lot of times kids shop and they do a lot of stuff online, or it might be associated with games or things like that. So sometimes not having cash is even better than having cash for them, because they do a lot of stuff that way too. So that's just another thought.
Yeah, that's, well, I have it. Yeah.
In a red envelope.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So this is such a rich discussion, because it's like, it just, you said something, Jerome, that just like really made me think about, you know, the whole is back to the not only the decluttering, but the regifting part of this, you know, in the holiday season. And you were saying that, you know, once you finally got rid of everything, and you felt like you missed it because it represented something to you. And I think that a lot of times for me and for other people as well, I mean, objects represent different things. They're powerful in that way. Like it was a portion of your life, or it was something that, you know, that you can look at and remember when you're conscious enough to actually see the object. They actually say that most of the times we go through life and go through the day and we don't even notice our own surroundings or the objects that we have. I mean, periodically we look at them, but then when we lose track of them and we don't think about them, but they're laden with all of this meaning and memory and everything else, which makes it that much more complicated or easy to pass them on to somebody and say, you know what, this is something that I cherished and now I'm passing it to you. Or this is something that I know that even without the object, I still have the memory of it. Or it's like all these different ways that you can like consciously choose to deal with the objects and things that are in your life, you know, that can be a burden or a joy to have.
Right.
It's complicated.
Oh. Thank you, Jerome. And I want to share that for everyone else that you're an arborist. So, because you shared with us too that some of the shipping stuff with the, you know, how bad the shipping is for the trees. That was something I just recently learned too. So from you, when you were talking about the shipping pallets, like, and where everyone's buying, we're talking about buying stuff right now.
With bugs.
Yeah,
The
bugs are coming
yes.
over on the pallets from other countries and infesting all of the trees here. So that was another angle for me in terms of buying things to think about. That was like kind of more of a hidden cost that I didn't realize too about shopping. And you shared that with you told us that last week, I think, because you were about all the insects that come from the actual shipping and the pallets. So just another angle that I didn't know about, that when I hit purchase online or on Amazon or something, if it's coming anywhere from a product that's come overseas, I'm contributing in a way to hurt some trees because there's not enough care given in the pallets and looking out for that. So just you know, then you get bugs from all over the place that hurt our trees. And so, and also it's helpful to see what all the equipment is for. You're, you know, you climbed the tree in my house, the big magnolia tree. So, and, you know, taking care of trees. And that was such a moment for myself too, where the care of that felt so good because it's that personal sustainability of caring for what I have personally, the tree in my front yard too. But that felt so good to care. I never learned how to take care of trees. So I'm so grateful you do what you do so that, that magnolia tree, you know, has some good life in it still.
Yes.
So you embody that part of my,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Does anyone have any questions? Darlene, do you have any questions about what we're talking about here with values or anything? No, I'm not putting you on your spot. You don't have to have any, but if you do, I'm really glad you showed up and came and listened in and turned on your camera. So,
yes.
but if you have any questions that I can clarify or Sheila can clarify, we're happy to answer them. Or anyone has specific things that, you know, Darlene, first I'll ask you that and then open it up.
Not specifically. I was when it was in Eventbrite, it said like to try to clarify about.
I think you froze a bit.
About your values. So I was wondering, like, yeah, and what are mine? So I wasn't sure, I couldn't straight answer it. Hello?
I wasn't able to hear, there was a distortion, so I couldn't hear your question.
Hi? Okay.
You
Yeah,
I
first started to speak and then I started to swear. So.
Oh, I think we're having some technical difficulties.
Yeah. If you want to write it in the chat, if you want to write your question in the chat, I could answer it that way too. if you want, because the sound is recorded.
Can you hear me now? How do I say?
Okay. You can write, yeah, talk. I see your text or your chat. Talk later when it's better. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the sound is.
Yeah.
I think if she turns off her video, you might be able to hear the sound.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
okay. So here's something from Ching Ching. Wondering if values have to be a verb or can they be a noun? Like to value a thing versus an action. Is that what you mean, Ching Ching? Like, yeah.
yeah. I'm thinking
Yeah,
back.
like, okay, go ahead, Amy. I've got, yeah.
Go ahead. If you have.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that I thought of was like peace. Peace is a value. I mean, peace is a noun. I mean, it's just a quality of just serenity and everything else. It's not really. I mean, it's an action as well, but I'm sure that there. Yeah, why couldn't you value? You can value whatever the value is important. Whatever's important to you. Did you have something in mind that you were thinking about? Like, for instance, money.
I just put like financial stability.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like it's like not a verb.
No,
So-
I mean, that is like, yes, that is absolute value because we talked about that in our last workshop. I mean, several people brought up money as being a value. I mean, something that's super important because money gives you options, money gives you stability, money is a tool. So it's like valuing that is like, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yes. And
Yes
I would,
and yes.
yes, and yes. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I think it's how it makes sense to you to use it. So I have connection is one of my values. But to connect is actually a part of that. So, but you call my value connection, or sustainability is a noun too. So it just depends on, but I take sustainable actions.
Mm-hmm,
So I
mm-hmm.
can use them interchangeably in that regard. I can play with it. Flourish is one of my values too. So, and so it doesn't have to be an action word at all. It could,
Mhm.
it can be either or. It's really what the word resonates for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Integrity too. Integrity. They're
Mhm.
like, you take actions to head towards integrity.
Mhm. Right. So it's like, I think it's like how it comes to life for you.
Mhm.
However you define it, and it then breathes life for you. So that when you think about it, it encapsulates all of those things, all of what's underneath it. And that's like exactly what we're going to be doing next week. This coming Sunday is really describing those values in a way that resonates for you and has that meaning, that deeper meaning. So it's like you hear it and you just know everything that's associated with it. You can bring forth that value and then it gives you that kind of clarity. Yes.
Okay.
Right. And yeah, and also that it's something you can kind of draw upon. And also, as a writer, I always think use action words. And if you're making bullets, have them all verbs or all nouns, have them all the same, and they don't have to be in this.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of what resonates with you, and you can change it around too. So if connect feels better than connection, then you can use the word connect. It's really personal in this regard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yes,
a good question because I believe the values are active. So, but you don't have to have a verb as your value to make it active.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I think maybe that's my question is like, if there
Yes.
feels like there's like activity and a decision point and
Right.
I mean, like listening to other people's, like when Jerome was speaking, I was like, oh, I want all those words. Like, how come I don't have a single one of those words? And then I'm like, is my list less than? Like, what's happening?
Oh, but that's fabulous because see, this is the thing, Ching Ching. I mean, we've been doing this work for a while. Amy's been doing it for a really long time, focused on that lens. I've been doing it in my own way, but recently doing it much more. And I still come across words or phrases that people use, and it's like, oh my God, that's like, ooh, that really hits it, right? That's like great. And then they get incorporated into all of my values in a way, or I might shift the way that I'm thinking about the word or phrase. And it's an evolving process. 2 years from
Okay.
now, they may look different than they do today.
And I don't know if you noticed in the workbook, I think it's page 14, where there's a list of all those inspirational words. And we intentionally put it later because it's not about a better word for somebody else
Okay.
or less than word for myself. That's not the lens to use. It's much more about what resonates with your
Okay.
empathy.
Yes.
And
yes.
with that said, if you hear a word that feels more authentic to you, you can get inspired and bring that in. It's, it doesn't mean you have to ignore that or put it away. Sometimes you'll have to see something. And go, oh yeah, that's right. That feels more in alignment. I just hadn't thought of it yet. So that's the process part of it.
Yeah.
But living them, it's kind of like the compass is there. The words are part of that. And then you take the steps and that you take the action, the roadmap, which we'll also be working on this second part of the workshop. You get a plan of how to actualize it. And also see how you already are actualizing. That's another key piece of this too.
What was that?
You're probably, you'll validate what you already are doing.
Okay.
That are in alignment with your values. And that's a very important piece because we're often told how much we aren't doing or aren't enough. And that's not actually true. But there's always, there's an option to do more to be in alignment, but we also are already doing it. And that's a really nice part of this process too, to be able to be like, oh, okay, I'm doing this already. Yes. Validate the decisions you've already made. What the naming does, it brings more clarity to it and tunes it better so that you're walking in the right direction for you and not the direction someone else wants you to go.
So we are just about at the end of our time together.
Yes.
I'm looking, yes.
Darlene, you're back. Did you want to say something real quick? Is it any better, the sound, I wonder? I'm happy to stay on after the time too, if you have anyone to ask a question.
Yes, it's better.
Yes.
How long? I didn't get maybe the part where I was gone.
Yeah. We talked about what are the values. Can they be a verb or a noun? What are the words themselves? And so we talked a little bit about that. But if you have a question, and we'll end right now, but I won't, because of the technical thing, if you wanted to ask, I'm happy to stay on and answer that. And if anyone needs to go, I understand because I respect your time.
Yes.
So
love the conversation. Thank you for showing up.
Bye, everyone.
This is
Thank
great.
you so much for coming.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, we will see you soon.
That went fast.
Yes, it did. So are you understanding what we're saying about values, Darlene?
Yeah, it's like the thing, what's the most important for you in your life. And yes, but I don't know how to find that for me. Yeah.
So we do a workshop and we have been doing one. I don't know, Amy, if it's still appropriate for her to come to the workshop or because we're halfway through.
We're halfway through it right now. It's we're doing it pro bono too. So there's no hidden charges there. But
yeah, it's free.
Oh, awesome.
But we're about to do the second week. But we'll probably do it again if
January.
You do the workshop again. If you want to go to my website, I can put it in the chat and you sign up for emails, then you'll know about when the next one is.
Yes, that would be good.
Then you can join. And we walk you through a process that there are 6 steps to naming your values and then the beginning of how to integrate them.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
it helps walking through it. And there are other resources out there too that you can use, but this one is very clear that we've been doing. I'll put my website in the chat.
Yeah. Yes. 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 That'll be good.
And we'd love to have you come. And then we do this like kind of Q&A conversation once a month on the 11th at 11 a.m. So,
Okay.
and it's on
Yeah.
Eventbrite. So you could go back and find it on Eventbrite every month if you want to just keep having, pop in and see to learn more too. So we do it
Yes.
each month.
Yeah, I saw that it's every month on.
Yeah. Yeah. On the
Yeah.
11th at 11 a.m. PS
11th at 11. Yeah. Come back. Come back. You will. Yes. Come back.
back. And we haven't set the date for our next Discover Your Core Values workshop, but we'll do it probably sometime in the first quarter of next year, I think.
Definitely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
So we would love to have you join if you were interested.
Yeah, I will read more about it.
Yeah, there's more. If you go on my website, you can read more about it. And then you'll see, if you can sign up, you'll be able to get the emails that tell you when the next one is.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank
much
you.
for
Thanks
coming.
for coming.
We're
Yeah.
glad turning on your camera. It was really nice to have you.
Yeah.
Check it out when you didn't know what we were.
You did fine.
It was great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we can stop recording, or do you want to record? Yeah.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we're good.
Where's the recording?
For some reason, if you start recording.